The Shark Deck.
Feisty one today. No, not me. I'm in a great mood, but wait to hear these stories. I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Bill Maher mixing it up. He had Jim Gaffigan on his podcast. This has been in my queue. I just didn't get to it yet, but the New York Post got to it. The subject turned to late night. Jim Gaffigan said, I love all those guys, I do, but the formula of real time, obviously it's less of a celebrity interview, turn and burn thing, but it hasn't felt like any of the effects of that. Like, I think the strike is going to kill the late night show that we grew up with. Maher said, why's the strike killing it? I don't get it. Jim, well, it's because it's off the air. Maher, again, no knock on the guys who do it, but I don't know how this art form has survived up until now. I mean, I understand why I'm on, because I'm on HBO. It's an hour without commercials, and I mean, sorry, it's a lot more entertaining, it's a lot more edgy, it's a lot more unpredictable, and it's true talk. I get that. What I don't get is this era of watching what sponsors are sponsoring a show that's on after most people go to bed, in an era where you can do anything at any time. You know, you can watch anything. You get into bed, you can watch Netflix, you can watch HBO, you can watch YouTube, you can watch anything that was ever made or do video games. Even if you wanted to watch this late night stuff, wouldn't you watch it sometime when you could zip through the commercials and just see the stuff you like? It just seems so anachronistic. I don't know how it survives until now. I'll jump in there. I'm shocked that one of the streamers isn't airing a quote-unquote late night show at, say, 8 o'clock. Like, Jimmy Kimmel tapes at 5:30 Pacific, and he used to do his show live. I wonder why he doesn't choose to, say, air that on, I don't know, ABC doesn't have a streamer. Netflix. Pair up with Netflix and throw that on at 8:30. That might do well, or maybe I'm just from the 20th century as well. Gaffigan told Maher that people develop a relationship with the late night hosts and want to hear Colbert's take about the day. I don't know about that, Jim. I really don't know about that. I mean, it's just a couple jokes. I've even done late bot here. Not sure I agree, Jim. Maher said, it's not a take. Those guys don't have takes. I have takes. I have a take on things. What they do is say exactly what a liberal audience wants them to say about that. That's not a take. I mean, I'm not saying it's not sincere. I guess it is on their part, but even if it wasn't, that's what they would do. There's never a moment where you don't know exactly, oh, this is the correct point of view on that. They talked about the writer strike. Maher said, I feel for my writers. I love my writers. I'm one of my writers, but there's a big other side to it. A lot of people are being hurt beside them. A lot of people who don't make as much money as them in this bipartisan world we have where you're just in one camp or the other. You're either for the strike like they're effing Che Guevara out there, or, you know, like this is Cesar Chavez's lettuce picking strike, or you're with Trump. There's no difference. There's only two camps, and it's much more complicated than that. Maher continued, they struck at the wrong time. They have no leverage. Has anyone who's watching TV really noticed a difference? Has it affected the person down the pipeline? I don't think so. I haven't noticed a difference. At some point, I guess that'll happen. What day is that when Netflix runs out of what they have in the warehouse? Yeah, pretty interesting. Before the strike, I would do late night jokes up at the top, and I had actually cut down on that a little bit because a lot of them weren't that good, and I had kind of stripped it down to just doing 2 or 3. And it left a hole in my script, but here a couple months in, I don't even think about it anymore. I just jump into the first story. When late night comes back, don't forget we'll have a new host of The Daily Show, possibly Hassan Minhaj. But I agree with Maher on the points of, you know, are you going to stay up to 11:30, 12:30 and watch these things? Just watch the clips later. You know, it's not like you're going to go to work. Oh my God, did you see Jimmy Fallon last night? Like, those days are over. But as I said earlier, you know, maybe somebody could do a version of this on a streamer, Netflix probably being the best chance at such a thing working. But, you know, do it live at, I don't know, 8 p.m. Eastern. Chelsea Handler did have a show that didn't work. Hassan had a show that didn't work. Who knows? Maybe it's just a relic of last century. Speaking of Jimmy Fallon, TMZ was paying attention to the Strike Force 5 podcast. Fallon told a story about the Timothée Chalamet puppet. I'll catch you up. The story did ring my ears, but I'm glad TMZ recapped it. Apparently, somebody had made a Timothée Chalamet puppet. Fallon said Timothy wasn't a fan of the lookalike doll, and the plan was to have the actor destroy the puppet during a Tonight Show appearance. But then the creator of the puppet chimed in and said he was offended. According to Fallon, the whole bit was scrapped. Puppet creator Chris Allen tells TMZ he was shocked when he heard Fallon on the podcast because, according to him, it's 100% false. He said no one reached out to him about killing the puppet, and if they had, he wouldn't care because the Tonight Show had bought it from him. Chris says he feels like Jimmy's podcast tale is painting him as a villain. More controversy from that same podcast. Stephen Colbert told a story. As the story goes, Colbert's at Second City, and he would play an improv game called Freeze Tag. The game requires 2 performers to begin a scene, then a third actor calls freeze. You've probably seen this on Whose Line. Tags out one performer and starts a new scene. Colbert says that Jim Belushi would regularly slap people on stage to get a shock reaction from the audience. Colbert said he has these big old meat hook hands, so he'd pick someone who felt like, that guy's not going to hit me back, and he would jack them. Colbert said he 1,000% got the joke of slapping people on stage, but he recalled a time when things went a little too far. During the game, Belushi did the slap Colbert called freeze. However, instead of tagging someone out, he told the slap performer, "Hit him back. This is never going to stop unless you hit him back." Belushi's victim apparently refused. Colbert says, "So I turned to Belushi and I said, like this, and I gave him the swiftest crack I could give him from a short distance. That didn't go over well. There was chaos in the house, and the two men had to be separated as the house lights turned on in the theater." Colbert said, "We were backstage yelling at each other. It was fantastic." He was a little upset. I've had the pleasure of meeting Jim Belushi a couple times. I found him to be a cool guy, but I wasn't playing freeze tag. Beth Stelling was on Instagram and wrote, "My Netflix is a joke comedy special. If you didn't want me then, premieres on Netflix, October 3rd. I was just a little shy, so I got Whitney Cummings and her son to record the promo. They know how to get views." Coincidentally, Beth Stelling's tour kicks off tonight in Atlanta at the City Winery. She's coming to Utah, Colorado, California, Chicago, Minneapolis, Louisville, Austin, Portland, the one in Oregon, and wraps up December 7th through the 9th in Burlington, Vermont. BethStelling.com. Michelle Wolf has a special out on Tuesday. Nashville Scene said, "Hey, Michelle Wolf, your team does a good job of uploading videos. Do you think comics uploading videos helps or hurts comedy?" "Good question," Michelle Wolf said. "It's good to give people a snippet of what you do. What's hurting is a lot of those crowd work videos with almost no jokes in them." Yes. People go to a show and expect, "I'm going to get called on and get a moment from me," and it takes away the art of writing a joke. Yes. Michelle said, "I'm not a fan of social media. I'm working on a bit about that in my set. We need to respect ourselves more by watching good and interesting things by talented people." Yes. We all doom scroll on Instagram. There are things out there that are more interesting than what you're seeing on your phone. Should I do it a fourth time? Yes. We need to value talent more than who we are. Well said, Michelle Wolf. Amen, standing O. Eugene Mirman spoke to the Worcester Mag. Eugene claims to work on something called Bob's Burgers. Now, if you're a new listener, let me let you in on the conspiracy. Longtime listeners are like, "Oh my God, he's going to do this again." Yes, I am. New listener, I know you've seen artwork for Bob's Burgers. I get it. There's clearly merch. There's t-shirts and stuff. Like, I get it. I get that you've even heard Joe Buck telling you to watch an all-new Bob's Burgers after football. Hey, John, Buck hasn't been on Fox in over a year. Kevin Burkhardt does the games now. Yeah, I know, inside voice ripoff from Jim Gaffigan, but that's not the bit. I know you've heard Joe Buck promote Bob's Burgers, but let me ask you two questions. One, have you ever seen Bob's Burgers? The answer is no. I won't wait for your answer. Follow-up question, and I'm not going to wait for your answer. Have you ever met anyone who has seen Bob's Burgers? The answer is no. Isn't that weird? This thing has supposedly been on Fox for 15 years, and nobody has ever seen it. Have you ever met anyone? You haven't. It's weird. Eugene Mirman said, "It's really fun doing Bob's Burgers and working with friends I've known for decades, and it's also really fun to do stand-up and perform live. It's very immediate, and I often get to see friends and travel with friends, so I love the variety of it. I think I'd miss not having a variety of all these different things, which is what often makes up anyone's career in entertainment. The thing that's really fun about voice acting is that sometimes you're recording alone, but often you're with your co-actors. It's usually in different cities, but you're live together. So with voice acting, you could try different stuff. You could do different jokes. You can have different intonations. You can do all sorts of things. Then they add it into an episode. So you can really take chances. And if they work out great, they're in the show. If they don't, they just cut and it's not a problem. So you can try a lot of different jokes while trying to make each other laugh." Congratulations to Robyn Schall. The Guinness Book of World Records has recognized her as the person who holds the record for making the tallest stack of donuts in 1 minute. Robyn Schall said, "In the beginning of 2023, we made a list of goals for the year. One of the kids suggested breaking a Guinness World Record title. I love the idea, so I went on the list, which is still on the inside of my closet door. She looked up records involving donuts. She found the record for stacking donuts stood at 12 in 1 minute. That doesn't seem that hard. That seems very breakable. 12? Because, like, donuts are sticky to begin with, and 12 wouldn't be that tall. I might have to go for this record myself. I've been known to go to the National Donut Chain. Schall said 2 weeks before attempting the challenge on live TV, I decided it was time to go into full-blown training. She said she had to learn how to make donuts because it was difficult to find the ones that were the size required by the Guinness Book. What? I kept the donuts in regulation, but some on the smaller end and some on the larger. Once I mastered that, it was just practicing with the speed. She successfully stacked 13 donuts. Let's head on over to Gossip Corner. TK Kirkland was talking about some of the rumors about Steve Harvey's marriage. Kirkland told Comedy Hype, "At first I was like, wow. All right, they just made her out to be a hoe. She kicking it with both them MFers in the camp." Steve Harvey has denied such rumors. He said, "I don't know what y'all doing, but find something else to do because we're fine. Sometimes you just want to respond, but I don't have time for rumor and gossip, man." He rehashed their love story in a video shared on Twitter. The New Yorker announced their lineup for the New Yorker Festival. That's October 6th through the 18th. They used very pretentious language. I will read it to you verbatim. Some of the interviews. The actor Julia Louis-Dreyfus in conversation with the New Yorker's David Remnick. The actor and comedian Eric Idle in conversation with the New Yorker's Michael Schulman. The comedian Ziwe and Aparna Nancherla in conversation with the New Yorker's Emma Allen. All of a sudden, Aparna's back. She had disappeared for like 2 years, and this is like the third story this week I've seen her in. I wonder why she's back. See, there's always an answer. I've been doing this a while. Where there's smoke, there's fire. She's got a book coming out September 19th called Unreliable Narrator, Me, Myself, and Imposter Syndrome. We'll talk about that in an upcoming episode. But all right, that explains that. She's fantastic. I'd rather her put out a new album than a book, candidly. Anyway, the comedian and musician Weird Al Yankovic in conversation with the New Yorker's Andy Borowitz. The New York Festival, October 6th through the 8th. If you're in Dallas, why don't you hit the Women's Comedy Festival, which was created in response to the limited and unequal stage time women comedians receive in comparison to their male counterparts. The festival will be at the Stomping Ground Comedy Theater. One of the founders, Anna Barden, said, "This year we're showcasing more different styles than just stand-up. We had those last year, but stand-up really ended up being the main attraction, so we're really excited to incorporate more improv and more alt comedy, and the Stomping Ground community has a good basis for that." Kate Greathouse is helping to produce the thing. For tonight's show, Greathouse wants to encourage the weird and the new to try out alternative comedy acts. She recalls being the only woman on a comedy lineup more times than she can count, and she says that does not fairly reflect the number of funny women on the scene. The festival continues tomorrow with Goddess, a celebration of women, which is a parody of the Goddess Party trend. That portion of the festival will be interactive with improvised music and other experimental elements. We're told that it's genuinely uplifting and fun, and they get the whole audience involved. And that's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. Thanks to Factor and DraftKings for supporting today's episode. See you tomorrow.